Hello everyone, I'm Laura Rogers and this is SharePoint Power Hour. I have Joelle Jobson here on audio. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And this is our show we do Wednesdays at 11 Central. We've been doing this for 6, probably almost 7 years. And this is all about, it's called SharePoint Power Hour. It's all about SharePoint, Office 365, Microsoft 365, whatever we're calling it now. It is geared towards business users, power users, that non-dev role. We're not super technical. I have a server admin background, and Joelle, you kind of have a similar, maybe more of a businessy type background. Neither of us are programmers, right?
That's true.
What was your first role in SharePoint, Joelle?
It was kind of just probably like most people, it was just kind of like a thrown together support role.
Yeah, we all get thrown into SharePoint at some point.
Yeah.
So everything we do in Power Hour is geared towards nothing, not anything super technical. And there's so much you can do in the whole suite of Microsoft 365 that you don't have to, that you can do with low code and no code. That's what we cover. So this week, and I send out the night before, I send out the newsletter for everybody to vote on the topic. And this time you all voted for Microsoft lists. And just one more quick thing, we have a chat where we talk in Slack during the meeting. And, we might be changing that up too. I was thinking of changing our platform of what I use to broadcast, kind of try some new things so Joelle can be on video too. And right now we chat in Slack. We've been doing that for a long time. It's just really easy. There's a link to join below whatever video you're watching. And this is where we have live commentary and questions, comments the whole time that's the fun part of having a live show. So Microsoft Lists is out. It's sort of out. It's it's sort of hidden in there, but you can get to it. So I was debating on whether to cover it now since it's not officially been released. But since I can get to it in my tenant, I thought we would take a sneak peek. Now, there is a ton that you're going to be able to do in Microsoft Lists. And I actually put a link in the general channel in Slack to just Microsoft's official. It's a really good 17-minute long demo video of all the amazingness that's going to be in Microsoft Lists. So I'll cover some of that. I'll mention it as I'm going through, but only a little bit of it is already out in the tenants. So that's why I'm calling this Power Hour Microsoft Lists First Look, because it's really just a first look at what's currently there and kind of just looking forward to what is going to be there and what we're going to be able to do with the list. All right. So, and hello everybody in the chat. Welcome. Everybody's jumping in. It's good to see you all. I'm excited to be talking about lists. So I have this demo tenant, and Joelle and I have been going in here and just creating some lists and creating some fake content in the lists. And we've been working hard to just, show you how to try out a few things. So the first thing I'm going to show you, so here's the list interface. And let me get my screen shared. Ooh, yay, pretty shiny. Look at that. How did I get to that? So what you're going to do is, here's the sneaky way. You all should just go try this right now, right? Just go to the waffle menu and go to OneDrive. And then what you do is you find this little, see, OneDrive.aspx.
Hey, Laura. Sorry, you may not be sharing. I'm a little delayed, but
no,
now it is. Okay.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
All right, sorry about
There's, who knows, it's like a 10 or 15 second delay. You change OneDrive here to lists. So it's list.asmx. So what it's doing is, for those of you who are sort of old school SharePoint people who remember my sites, what it's really doing, your OneDrive is really just for those of you who don't know, OneDrive is really just a SharePoint site. It's really a document library in your own SharePoint site. It's your own document library. It's just they obfuscated all the SharePoint site part that's around it. So Microsoft Lists is also basically an interface to sort of a screen that's in your own private site. All right, so that's why all that stuff that's personal and the URL and all that. So it's list.aspx. All right, I'm going to put it back in full full screen mode. And so what you can do is these are all the lists. You start off with the ability to create a new list. Some of you, it's not out in all the tenants yet. So in another tenant that I have, I do just get a white screen. It doesn't work. So it's just not going to work for some people. They haven't, this whatever this is called, this preview thing, hasn't been rolled out to all the tenants. Somebody was asking how to get a demo tenant. I usually go to transform.microsoft.com, and it used to be called demos.microsoft.com, and it lets you create, if you're a partner, you have to make yourself be a Microsoft partner. It lets you go create your own demo tenants. So that's the way that I know. All right, so it's like a roll of the dice to see if you're going to be able to have this or not. So fortunately, Joelle and I have several different tenants. She has her own personal one with just one user in it that she's able to try it in, and I have my own. I have my test one that's Wonder Laura. I have like a couple of other ones, and we have this demo one. So we figured at least one of them would have this capability. So, all right. So we are lucky enough to be able to try it. So here is where you're going to be presented with. It's just going to be a blank screen, and it's going to just show you this ability to create a new list. And it's also it's going to show you all the recent lists that you've gone to, and it's going to show you my list, because with lists, you're going to have this concept of having the ability to create a list in this my list, which is really just going to put it in your own little site here. It's like a private list. Or you create it and it puts it in, and you pick a specific SharePoint site to try it in, to put it in, where the list would physically live. So this first thing that you're going to do when you're going to decide where to put your list, you really need to think about, because they kind of make it sound like, well, if you're starting with a list and it's just for you and you're not ready to share it with anybody yet, you just create it in my lists, and you share it with people with a share button when you're ready. But the problem with that is it's not moving the list when you click the share button. It's just sharing. The list exists in your own private area, and you're just putting separate permissions on it. So for those of you who are like old school SharePoint, who like to keep things nice and tidy and in the right place, I wouldn't want to say that it's a best practice to put a bunch of things in my lists. But see, with OneDrive, it's different, because with OneDrive, when you start working on a document in your OneDrive, and then sort of it's a best practice to say, well, when I'm ready to share this document, then I move it to a SharePoint site. Well, that's totally different, because you're not just changing the permissions necessarily. You can actually just move that file to a document library. Well, the list, you're not moving the whole list unless you have some sort of migration tool. So anyway. All right, so we have all these cool templates. Now there's a ton of functionality in here that is not in here yet, that is going to be, I'd say probably 80% of all the coolness and really, really exciting stuff that's going to be in Microsoft Lists isn't even in here yet for what I have. So we're going to cover the coolness that is in here so far. So when you go create a list, remember templates? Remember list templates? Do y'all remember them? This is so long ago. It's been 2 or 3 years. So they're back. Yay. So back in old school classic SharePoint, when you created a new list, you used to have all these great templates you could pick from. And then when SharePoint kind of went modern, then really the custom list was the only one that had the modern look. And then all those old lists that were created with the other templates became kind of obscure and became sort of not as easy to make them look modern, and just very awkward. and I just pretty much stopped using them. I don't know about you all, but I have not used anything but a custom list in probably 3 years. What do you think, Joelle? Something like that?
Same.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
So list templates are back. Yay! Can I get a golf clap? This is really slick. So we have all these different, we have issue tracker, employee onboarding, event itinerary, asset manager, recruitment tracker, travel requests, work progress tracker, and content scheduler. And then, so what it's going to do is just like with, the templates like we had before, they're going to let you just give you somewhere to start, and then you can customize them however you want to from there. You can go add your own columns, you can go delete columns and change things around, add views. So it's really just giving you somewhere to start with. And then just like we already have these 3 options, and we have gone into these in other Power Hours. So of course, blank list, we've always had that. From Excel, we did just in a couple of Power Hours ago, we showed how to create a SharePoint list from Excel. And then from existing list, we had that in a Power Hour probably a couple of months ago, how to create from an existing list. So these 3 things are not new. These are new. And when you click on one, look how cool. It's actually giving you a preview of what that list is going to look like and what all the columns are going to look like. Which is, we didn't have that before, did we, Joelle? I don't think we did.
No, I don't think so.
Employee onboarding, event itinerary, and it's got pretty little formatting, and a lot of this formatting, we've gone over that in other Power Hours too. So that's really just regular old list and column formatting. And then asset manager, ooh, look at that, it's got pictures. And recruitment tracker has got things about candidates that you're recruiting, interviewers, notes, even a link to their profile. Travel requests, that's a common one that I do. And then work progress tracker. And these are, so this little setting, these little rounded buttons, that's called a pill. And that is just a setting that exists in your column formatting. It's fairly new. We just covered view and column formatting, I feel like a couple of weeks ago too, at least within the last month or so. And all these little icons are just in there. We'll go look at that again. And then the content scheduler is, again, with the pretty little pill formatting, and these images are kind of broken, but that is where you get your preview of what kind of list you want to create. So I'll just say now we've already created one of each of these different kind of lists, but I want to show you what this little walkthrough looks like. And I also want to show you on Microsoft's site, and then I put a link to this in the chat. It's this Lists Resource Center. You can go look at this list lookbook, kind of similar to the SharePoint lookbook as a concept. And it also shows you all these cool little templates and examples of them in all these pretty little graphics. So check that out too. Okay. And then, okay, so I've picked Asset Manager. I'm going to choose Use Template. And then just like when I always create a list, I can give it a name and a description. S2. And then some assets. I can give my list a color. So this is the color that it's going to show as when it shows on that screen that's, with all of your lists on it. So that's pretty slick. And I'll make that one green, and you can change your icon. And now this is important. This is the thing that I was talking about. By default, it just wants to put it in My Lists. My List is gonna it's a SharePoint. It's just a SharePoint list. So these are just SharePoint lists. They're just on steroids, and they're just gonna live inside of if you choose My List, it's going to live inside of your own little sort of My Site in the same area where your OneDrive lives. Okay, so that's the default. So kind of be aware of where you're creating it. Now, I believe that this list creation experience, I mean, it wouldn't make sense if it didn't, but I believe that this experience that I'm on right now is going to be in any SharePoint site. When you click to create a list, that's what it's going to look like, because this is just a SharePoint list. But right now it's just not in those yet. So this is going to be all of my recent SharePoint sites. And so I can go to my sales site, and this is going to create that list in my sales site. And I can say, just like I've always been able to do, say whether I want it to show in the navigation or not. So I will go ahead and create that. All right, so then here is my list. So this interface is going to be a big thing that's going to be, that's going to change a lot, that's going to have a lot more added to it. So I'll just add, and this just looks like a regular list form, right? Status, and Joelle already created a few other lists in here too that we're going to go look at. Fill out all these fields just so you can see how cool it looks when it's all filled out. Purchase date. Yesterday I bought this. Wow, this has got a lot of fields. What are some names in here? We've got Adele is somebody.
Joni, Deborah.
Joan. So our little fake people. Joni and Deborah. Let me see if it lets me put multiple people. Oh no, it's just, that's a one person field. So due date, I'll just type it in here. Stuff. I noticed one of these actually had different verbiage for the attachments too. Have you noticed that, Joelle? It said something like related files or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that it lets you change what the attachments says. So we'll have to, do you remember which list that was? We'll have to go look at that too. All right, now check it out. Now okay, so what this is a SharePoint list, obviously, and then you do have the ability to go into just any SharePoint list and look at it like this, though. So you don't have to go create it just in this My List view. So look at this, env equals web list view. So I'm going to copy this. This is important, so y'all might want to grab a screenshot of that, env equals web list view. And then you can go into any SharePoint site. I'll just go to my main root of this demo tenant, and I'll just create a new list, test, new thing.
Oh yeah, it was the content scheduler. It's called content files.
Oh, okay, thanks. Right. Okay, so this is going to be another, just a regular old list that I just created. And what you're going to do, and you can do this, you can go to any list that already exists in your tenant and try this. And I think that this is going to work whether or not you can get to that special, like that main interface. Because I think this worked in all my tenants. See, if you go just change it to env equals web list view. And John Liu in Twitter tweeted this last week or so. John Liu, he's a really awesome MVP that does a lot with Power Automate and has been in SharePoint for years. This was in a tweet the other day. So I had seen this in a tweet, and Joelle had seen the thing about switching the OneDrive URL in some other tweet. So between the two of us, we kind of hacked into here. So if you all want to try this, yeah, you're right. That is a weird icon. That is very retro icon, isn't it? The colors on that thing. It's this. Valerie's talking about this icon. She doesn't like it. It doesn't look like it goes along with everything else, does it? It's a completely different sort of look and color scheme. Okay, so then I just created a regular old list in a site without going to that special list interface, and I can still switch it to be this cool looking view, which the form doesn't look any different, but it's wider. So I don't know. Was there any? I don't know. I don't think there was anything else. Oh, another thing you get in here when you do this though is you get this little list button. So that list button is also going to take you to this main interface with all of your lists. And these are going to show no matter where you created these. So look at this. I've got a few that we created on various different SharePoint sites. And we've got some that were created just in my lists. Let's see. Recent lists I created. My lists. These are the lists that physically exist in my own area here and by default are not shared with anybody. Okay, so, and you can also favorite them. So you can say favorite your favorite list to make them show up here. So I can go to my recent list and I say, I really love this issue tracker list. I want to go to it all the time and I can favorite them. So that gives me the ability to just have this quick little view of lists that, I go to all the time. What am I missing in the chat, Joelle? Anything important? Let's see.
I don't think so. I think mostly just comments just about the lipids.
All right. There's a lot going on in the chat. I can see it kind of scrolling, but I didn't get to read it all. All right. Anthony says he thinks lists seem similar to Planner. I don't think they seem similar to Planner at all. I think they seem more like a database, just like a list of stuff. And Planner seems more like tasks. But tasks are a list of things too. So Planner is really just that sort of visual slicing and dicing. And we covered Planner recently too in another Power Hour. And assigning things to people and tracking the progress of sort of maybe a project or something like that. And so List is not going to necessarily do that same thing out of the box. All right, let's go into a couple of other, which ones, let's see, Recruitment Tracker. Joelle's been working on these. Which one's the one that you said had, the one that you said had a different type of attachments?
Content scheduler.
Okay, so this one, Joelle's been putting a lot of content in here, and it has, let's go look at edit one, and it says content files here. So that's really interesting. It's got content files instead of like usually where it would say attachments. So let's go look at the list settings. This is really pared down to, right? The list settings, that's the only thing you can click on. Ooh, that must be just built in. Yeah, that must be built in. That must be one of those special things that's built into the template, Joelle. Remember the old templates had a couple of things like that too.
Yeah.
That were just built in and there wasn't anything you can do to change them. That was just what you got. So that'll be interesting. This says it's a thumbnail is the type. That's interesting too. I've never seen a field type of thumbnail. Let's go see what that looks like over in here. Now another thing I noticed about, let me go back to my list interface. See, it took me to Content Scheduler inside the SharePoint site too. Interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Dustin just said something that I think you should answer. Hopefully lists eventually provide us with a modern calendar view.
Oh, yes. We're getting to that. That's one of the things. So if you all watch that longer video that I put a link to, well, not longer than Power Hour, it's 17 minutes, but it's a long demo compared to other Microsoft videos. It's a very, very useful demo. It's got a modern calendar view. So I'm going to start, after I finish showing you what I can show you with what we already have in here, I was going to start delving into the things that are not in here yet that are super awesome and exciting, and I can't wait till they're there. Okay, and calendar view is one of them. So, Stuart says, didn't see saving as a template. Well, remember, whenever you go to create a new list, just right now, you can pick from an existing list. So that's what you get. You don't have take a list and save it as a template. You have just pick from an existing list, which is kind of achieves the same thing, but in reverse. So I don't think that I don't know. I haven't seen any plans for them giving a save list as a template type of option. So it's just, you're just doing it in sort of a different way. So let's go back to the content scheduler because I want to see this thumbnail thing. All right, let's look at a couple of other things. What I noticed when I was kind of going back and forth in here, when I was trying all this stuff out before I went live, is that it goes back to the quick edit view very often. It seems like sometimes the quick edit view is the default. It hasn't done it while I've been doing this demo, but it seemed to do it a lot just kind of as I was trying things out. It goes to quick edit view. Look how slick the quick edit view is, by the way. This is very, very much improved too. So this makes it very easy and obvious to just directly go in here and edit stuff. And it looks exactly, it's WYSIWYG. It looks exactly like you're going to get it. So I can go add another campaign 2 stuff here. A long I'm just typing a lot. And then look, it's got, like, I can even expand it out. All right. And then it's got author is going to be the created by, status. Now, a lot of these might have other little just tidbits of things that are built in, just like we used to have in the old school templates that we haven't necessarily discovered yet. So that'll be interesting to go find those. All right, so now it's saved my row that I just created. And then I like the way it's got the just easy ability to add the stuff in here in the slick interface. Now look at this. Okay, by default, it's got this auto fit height when you're in quick edit view. So it's got some differences in here when you're in quick edit view and in regular view. So I go to fixed height and it's everything, it kind of cuts off. You see these, they cut off. And then when I go to auto height, then whenever I've got a lot of verbiage, a lot of text in a field, it will expand it and make it longer. But I can still also do this and expand their widths too. I wonder what that thumbnail thing was though. Let me see if I can go find that. So let me go back out of quick edit view. And then notice that when I'm not in quick edit view, I don't have that same concept in here. I just have, right now, I just have list and compact list, but they were talking about a bunch of other things that we're going to have here, like one called tiles, where you look at everything kind of like document libraries have like a tiles view. Sorry. All right. So what else was I going to show you in here? That thumbnail thing, where did that go? Let me go find that. I'm going to go just edit one item just like I do in SharePoint. And it said it had a field that had a column type of thumbnail, but I don't see that one. Do you remember which one that was? Let me see. That intrigued me. Content image thumbnail. Let me see if that might be one that's just not out yet. It's just got additional files such as the text and additional images if more than one is used. I will get I'm just going to put a file in here that's an image, and I'm just going to see if it does anything magical. I doubt it will. No, it's just got the little icon. Okay, so now, and it took me back to SharePoint. Did you notice that? Let me go back to lists here. Okay, so I think we've gone over everything in this interface for just getting around in creating lists and favoriting lists and seeing your list. And then we've also got let's go look at a few of just the way the different ones look real quick. So we already looked at the content scheduler. We've got Recruitment Tracker, which is going to have fields for, candidates and information about the candidates and who interviewed them. And in the little preview screen, it showed, or in the preview video, it showed the ability to look at them as tiles, and then you'd be seeing sort of pictures of all the candidates and all these tiles of information across the screen. So that's the Recruitment Tracker. And then that's the one that, so notice, this is interesting. This is the one that I created inside of just from a SharePoint site. And remember, I changed the little env equals web view list in the query string in the URL. And now since I did that, it shows here with my other sort of modern lists, or whatever they're called, Microsoft lists. So even though I didn't create it from this interface and I didn't use one of those special templates, since I switched the URL for it to show in the modern look, somehow that made it add it to this list. Interesting, huh? And then we've got my asset manager, and with asset tags and some assets. And the photo type of column hasn't changed yet. It's just the same as it's always been in SharePoint, where you have to put a URL to a photo, but that's going to be one of the ones that improves. So that's going to have an actual interface for you to upload a file, or point to which file that you want to be showing in this little photo column type. And so that's going to be part of one of the big improvements. Let me go back to, so that was Asset Manager, and then Travel Requests. And Travel Requests also has these cool little pills. Now let's go look at that little pill setting. So let's go back to that plain old list that I created, so you can see that this is not something that's special only in the new modern list, but it's in all of them because it looks really slick. So what I'm going to do is I'll just add a choice column. I'll just say test choice, so you can see that choices, look how cool, look how slick this is. So check the test. Okay, it's a choice field. What do I want my choices to be? Look at this, Joelle. As I'm creating the choices, it automatically has for me to choose what colors they are.
That's really cool.
Is this sinking in? Have y'all seen, this is so cool. This must just be in all the lists, I guess. This is live. This is awesome. So as I'm creating a choice field, I'm creating it, when I create it by choosing add column. We'll have to add this to the training too, Joelle. Keep coming across things we get to add to our SharePoint training. Then I get to pick what color they're going to be. Cool. Rad. Awesome. So my choices here are kind of going along with the the color theme of the list logo, right? 80s retro. So cool, it's going to be orange. Rad is going to be, what is it? There, I'm kind of close. Cool, rad, or awesome. And so you get to change the colors as you're creating that. And you even have, so I'll go ahead and save this and kind of show you. This one's going to be cool. Okay, I'll go into quick edit real
really
quick.
Helpful because the
Do what?
column, I was going to say that column formatting, if you're just doing one column, is like no big deal, but when you have to do multiple columns, it's kind of annoying. So being able to do it out in a creation is actually very helpful.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. And this is going to be another cool one. And exit quick edit. Okay, so then I'll show you the little pill thing. So I go to get out of quick edit and go to my column settings, format this column. Here we go. Look at this. Dun, 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 dun. Format choices as pills. Oh, it changed the colors, Joelle. It put it back to some sort of default colors. So when you do this, you can edit styles. So you will have noticed in a few of these new slick modern lists, or I'm not going to call them modern lists, that's not what they're called, Microsoft lists, that they had some very advanced. So I don't want to go to advanced mode and write code. That's not what I want. But I want to go edit these styles and do more styles. This is down here, more styles. Let me maximize my screen again. So I pick a specific one and go to more styles. And then I have all this stuff. And again, I feel like we just covered this a couple weeks ago. But so we have icons that you can put on here, and we have borders. So look, see when I put a border around it, it looks really slick. Put like a dotted border. And I saw some of them with shading on them too. I don't know where the shading is. Anyway. So that's how you can make them look like pills and have all kinds of coolness going on the sides. All right, let's go back to lists. And then issue tracker. Ooh, that looks really slick, Joelle. Did it already have like the whole row red like that?
Yeah, I think it was for the, like, if I made it blocked. Like, there was
Oh.
one that was blocked, and if I made it that, it changed that color.
Nice. So that's the issue tracker. And we used to have an issue list type in back in old school SharePoint too. Issues apparently are a popular thing that people like to track. Okay, now let's talk about a couple of other things. Now we're about got about 20 minutes left. Let's talk about some of the things that are coming that aren't in here yet. So, yesterday when I first started playing with this and kind of hacked in and found this little list interface, and then I just figured, well, yeah, let's totally demo this because it's out there, they just haven't rolled it out. But then I realized as I went how much, like, the large quantity of stuff that is so cool that's going to be in here that is not in here yet. So I don't want you to go in here and look at this and think, well, that's all there is to it. That's just a little bit. It just kind of changes the way it looks. It's not that big of a deal. They are changing it drastically. It's going to be so awesome. So a few of the things they're adding a calendar view, a modern calendar, not like the old school calendar view. I tried just creating an old school like calendar view by going to the list settings in one of these and to see if it would look like the modern one. It didn't. Maybe that's another little thing that you have to add onto the URL. I'm not sure to hack into that. I'm not sure if it's even there yet. So they have a calendar view. They have a little like a tiles view where you can see them all just like documents have with the tiles. And then they have, when you go in here to show and hide columns, this interface is going to be a little different. So right now you can kind of drag things up and down to rearrange them. But what it's going to have is little sort of, for certain types of columns, it's going to let you decide how you want it to be displayed. So like this little person column right here. See how it's got their image? Well, it's going to actually have that next to the column where you can decide how you want it to be displayed. And if it's a photo, you can decide if you want it to display the photo. So it's going to have sort of little interface with like an ellipsis or some kind of little drop down next to things that lets you change the way they look. In the old school way, we had to go to the list settings and go to the column settings, like for a person field, and change it that way. Well, that's not going to be the way you do it in this new thing. It's going to be in when you're setting up your sort of your order of your view here. And this is going to be huge. So when you go to edit an item right now, I can just go, I'm editing an item, and right now all I have when I choose edit columns is this just meh. I can just rearrange stuff, and I can show and hide stuff It's not that big of a deal. But they are completely revamping the form itself. So right now, all I can do is show and hide things from just the generic form, and then it would just be rearranged or hidden and showing on the generic form. But they're adding a whole new form editor. So they've realized, Microsoft has realized that for business users that are maybe not familiar with SharePoint or definitely not technical, that Power Apps is not an easy user interface for quickly customizing a form. There's a drastic learning curve. I love Power Apps and I think Power Apps is a blast, but have you all noticed this? There's sort of a gap in power users that would be able to use Power Apps and understand how to figure out the logic and functions versus like Betty Sue in accounting who just real quick needs to rearrange fields on a form. Have y'all noticed this? So I know there's kind of a delay, but oh yeah, thanks we've gone over that list formatting thing a couple of times in other power hours, but that's always a good resource to have. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I know. So I'm really looking forward to, so there's going to be a completely new form editing interface, and Stuart says something about like a List Pro license upgrade. Who knows? I don't think that that's a plan, but Stuart is skeptical, isn't he? So Power Apps there's definitely, now it's going to be very simplistic. It's going to be, some pretty easy conditional formatting, hiding and showing things, and rearranging things the way you want to look on a form. But that's all that a lot of you need when you're customizing a form. You don't need to have to go through, hours of training just to learn how to do some logic. And I know that because I teach Power Apps, I have a Power Apps training course. It's a lot to learn. There's a lot of just fundamentals, the way the properties work, the way the logic works, the way to write functions and how they work, and what controls are, and there's a lot to it. So this is going to be a lot simpler. And so not only is there going to be a new form editing interface that's not there yet, there's going to be a new rules thing. There's going to be, I don't know if I think it's going to be on this Automate tab. Have you all seen them demo this? They demoed this at, I think, Ignite last year. Didn't they, Joelle? Something like that. It was a while back.
Yeah.
It's going to say rules here. And similar to Power Apps, they've discovered that there's a lot of people that are new to Office 365, especially right now with so many people just jumping to the cloud and flying to the cloud and flocking to the cloud, and they're all new to this stuff, and they want it to make sense to just new people who don't want to learn a bunch of complex stuff. So Power Automate flows are pretty complicated too once you do something but beyond just, a couple of basic things. So they're creating a new rules thing that will be right here, where you're creating rules directly on a list. Oh, what do y'all think? That's pretty exciting. So that's going to be cool too. And so I feel like this new rules thing and the new form editing interface are going to be a great sort of in-between point for those business users who aren't like superpower users who can almost figure out code like some of us are. So I'm not a dev, but I can kind of get into all the functions and complexity and business logic, where people that are brand new to this, they just want it to make sense and not have to learn a bunch, right? So it sounds like I don't know. Anthony says so rules sounds like they're the old workflows. I don't know. We'll see. They sound like they're even more simplistic than that. Like you're not going to be presented with 50 different things when you're adding an action, because that gets to be overwhelming. So, but I'm not sure. All I've seen is in their little demo videos that they do. What else, Joelle, am I missing here that is in here now, or that was something they talked about being in here. Calendar view was huge. Forms, rules. The new kind of ways to do views. The slick little quick edit. I'm trying to remember. Any questions? Oh yeah, so a lot of you have really picked up. Power Apps and flows and really kind of embraced it. But I feel like people want to be able to just hand over the ability to do forms and workflows to just business users who aren't Power users and who might be new to this. I think this is going to be a great tool, and I'm looking forward to adding it to our SharePoint training. Who mentioned Infopath? Let's see. Yeah, she said that there's definitely a steep learning curve transitioning off Nintex SharePoint Designer workflows to Power Automate and off of Infopath to Power Apps. Yeah. And Infopath you could get pretty complex with it too, right, Joelle? But when you created a rule in there were only like 3 or 4 things you could pick from. It wasn't this overwhelming like 200 things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that there's what's going to happen is you're going to have people embracing this new thing that's really easy, and you're going to have tons of people using it. But then once they get to that point where that new thing that's really easy and simplistic doesn't do something that they want it to do, those are going to be the people that are going to be transitioning over to Power Apps and Flows. And so you'll still have, I think, people reaching that sort of, whatever you call it, a threshold of complexity. Definitely. And then once you reach the threshold of complexity, which right now I have absolutely no idea what that threshold is going to be because I haven't tried it or really seen it, then you're still going to have people needing to learn Power Apps and Power Automate. And then we still have that whole other data flex thing that's coming out pretty soon too. So and we talked about this in the last Power Hour. Data flex is going to be like creating a Power App inside of Teams, and it will be a Canvas app. So those that's not going to be like the simplistic interface of Microsoft Lists and this new form thing. So it's kind of different audiences they're going after, but and I'll just kind of switch back there. But what's going to be interesting is that sort of transitioning in between, right, Joelle, and that decision-making process. Because when you first start building a business solution or creating a list, a lot of us like to know and plan what technology we're going to use, right?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you just have to understand what the limitations are before you even get started. Because I feel like some people will start and spend a bunch of time in Microsoft Forms and then slowly realize it's not going to do it. For whatever business process that they're trying to create. And so I think you're gonna see that same kind of thing happening with this. Like people are gonna spend some time, and then be like, oh wait, it doesn't do what I need it to do. So I feel like that's definitely it's a really good thing to evaluate before you start working.
Yes. So that's what Joelle and I do. We figure out what those little sort of pain points or deficiencies in different products are that make you want to use another product. And that we help, kind of guide people to make sure and use the correct one when you're building a business process. But a lot of people out there are just going to be click, 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 creating these, right? Mm-hmm. So like we have a ton of people that have customized list forms with SharePoint, customized list forms with Power Apps, and I never customize list forms. I always start from scratch with a blank standalone Power App because to me, that's my best practice. And I know the limitations of, doing a customized list form compared to just doing a standalone Power App. So I know ahead of time, I never want to customize a list form. So that's going to be also something to where, okay, before I even start creating the list itself, I need to know whether it's going to be a data flex thing in Teams or a Microsoft list or a like all the other data sources like CDS or SQL. So you got to, think about, it's just, so this is just adding one new factor to of some decision that you need to make before you even get started. But at least it's just a SharePoint list behind the scenes, and it's really just the interface to it that's been improved.
Yeah.
But they also added it made it sound like there are going to be a couple of new field types too in here. So that's going to be something to look forward to. Let me check real quick to see when I click add column. And you all, by the way, whenever you click add column, just here in a list, this does give you a different interface than when you go to list settings and click to add a column. So like for example, this location thing is not going to give you this nice little slick interface. I don't even think it's there as an option when you go into your list settings. So just something to keep in mind to try and get in the habit of whenever you're in lists and libraries creating columns, just go ahead, especially if you're the old school SharePoint people like me and Joelle, just go ahead and start getting used to using this add column right here, because there is a difference in what you're going to be able to do. Cool. Yeah. Anyway.
Mom, she should be here by now.
All right, so I think we got about 9 minutes left, and we pretty much covered a bunch. I can't think of anything else. You all definitely watch that video that I put a link to. I put the link in the general channel in Slack, and it is called A First Look at Microsoft Lists. That's going to be the most thorough one. It's just awesome. It's new feature after new feature after new feature. And then this is the main page that has got the links to just everything. It's got that lookbook, and it's got links to a bunch of different videos in it. So any last thoughts? Anyone? Let me switch it back here. That was a fun one. Again, I was debating whether to cover that because everything's not in it yet, but I just couldn't wait. This is just a really exciting update, I think.
Yeah, somebody asked about the release date, and it's pretty much, if you look at the roadmap thing, it's pretty much just rolling out now. This month,
okay.
So
let's see. I'll put it back. Let's go to the roadmap. Roadmap. And then, did you just type a search for it in here? SharePoint.
Yeah, you can usually search for it. I don't have the number right in front of me because I clicked away already. Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's okay. What am I doing? Oh,
Yeah,
I went to the
August.
roadmap, and then I clicked up here in the in the navigation.
Yeah, everything for Microsoft Lists is all the main stuff is in August and Q3.
So is it under, yeah, here it is, Microsoft Lists, List Apps. Oh, that's one thing that I didn't mention, is that all this stuff that we covered in the video, you can do it inside of Teams, except we already had a whole power hour about that too, didn't we? Where you can do all this stuff inside of Teams. So you can add lists inside as a tab inside of Teams, and that whole interface, quick edit, views, everything is also available. Oh, one other thing that I just remembered that they're gonna have in here is a little comments button. It's gonna be like a little button right here, I guess next to the little share button that says comments, and you'll have a whole comment pane that comes out. So you'll be able to have this running commentary of comments. Now that functionality has sort of been in there for a really, really long time, but it hasn't been slick and obvious like it is going to be with a whole panel and a cool little button to get to it. So just another thing. And then let's go look at the roadmap again. Let's see. It says, is this one the one you were looking at? List app in Microsoft Teams? Maybe it's just that's them putting it in Teams. Anyway, that's roadmap. Roadmap.office.com is where I went to get here, where you can go find all that stuff and go dig through it and see the release dates and stuff. So, all right. Oh, thanks, Susan. Yeah, appreciate that. Cool. I guess we'll be back next week, And our live class, live online, Power Apps and Power Automate 5-day class is going to be really intense. It's going to be August 17th through 21st. So you all check that out at iwmentor.com. And thanks everybody for coming. And you all please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would be so kind. I have about 14K subscribers. I'm trying to get up to 30K. So if everybody hearing this, click the subscribe button. However, I don't know if you're watching it embedded in another page or wherever you're watching, but if you can do that. Maybe I need to add more buttons to subscribe in different places, but thanks. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for watching. Over and out. Thanks, Joelle.
Bye, everybody.